with Shedeur. Oh. And it was unacceptable.
Yeah.
See, my thing about Kevin Stefanski is this.
No.
Who has gotten better from the player's perspective that you can hang your hat on? Bro, players, from what we've seen, don't get better with Kevin Stefanski. You're inheriting something that's already great and ready to rock and roll. My question and issue is, how are you going to make them be the best version of themselves?
Baker Mayfield was done dirty by Stefanski. A true leader would check in on his people. A true leader would make sure his dudes were okay if something happened.
Why in the hell would the goddamn player text the coach after getting traded? What sense does that make? I love Joe. I love Joe to death. Absolutely not. You don't text and call no coach about, oh, thank you for everything. No.
Stefanski would hang you out to dry if he could. You're only valuable to him if you can give him value now, if you can win him games now. That's why he's not there for development. That's why he's not there building up players. That's why he's not talking about player development. That's why he's not talking about his young players. He's only talking about and doing what gives them value.
More proof just dropped that Kevin Stefanski wanted Dillon Gabriel and Bailey Zappi as the Browns' backup quarterbacks over Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland media has now confirmed the organization had to step in and force Stefanski to play Shedeur. This wasn't coaching. This was straight-up sabotage. And now Falcons fans might be staring down the same disaster. But before we break down all the evidence showing Stefanski actively worked against Shedeur, you need to know three things. First, why Stefanski refused to give Shedeur first-team reps until the front office threatened him. Second, he did the same thing to Baker Mayfield and destroyed that relationship. And third, why Cleveland media members are now admitting Stefanski can't develop players and runs everything with a scarcity mindset. Because Kevin Stefanski didn't just fail as a coach in Cleveland, he actively blocked young quarterbacks from succeeding. And the receipts are everywhere. Let's expose every single way Kevin Stefanski held back Shedeur Sanders and why the Falcons may have just made a catastrophic mistake. Stefanski is out in Cleveland, and the more info that comes out, the worse it looks. We're not talking about some questionable choices. We're talking about systematic sabotage of young quarterback development, and the proof keeps piling up. Cleveland media revealed Stefanski wanted Bailey Zappi as the backup over Shedeur Sanders. Bailey Zappi, a career third-string QB who couldn't even stick in New England. That's who Stefanski preferred over a fifth-round pick who set the NCAA all-time completion percentage record. Think about how wild that is. Shedeur was completing 70 to 80% of his passes in training camp. He was clearly outperforming Dillon Gabriel in practice. Anyone watching knew Shedeur was better, but Stefanski still wanted Bailey Zappi as the backup. Why? Because Stefanski operates with a scarcity mindset. He doesn't develop young talent. He doesn't invest in the future. He only cares about what keeps him comfortable now. Older quarterbacks who won't challenge him. Safe options. That's what he wants. Status quo over progress. And here's where it gets really damning. Multiple Cleveland media members have confirmed the front office had to intervene and force Stefanski to elevate Shedeur. It wasn't Stefanski's choice to make Shedeur the backup. It wasn't his decision to start him. The ownership came down hard. Play Shedeur now or you're fired. That's not coaching. That's being forced to do your job because you refuse to do it yourself.
Stefanski, it's ego over execution. It's plays over players. At the end of the day, you got to give this kid a shot to redeem himself. That's the beauty of being a rookie. You're going to go out there, you're going to struggle, you're going to have some success, you're going to struggle again, but you want to see them come out on the other side. Now, Shedeur, but it's all about Kevin Stefanski's ego. We saw this with Baker Mayfield. Oh, it doesn't fit my system. Well, your system has to be about the players that are in it. And we've seen him do this because the offense was completely different when Dillon Gabriel was out there. It was a lot of, short, quick passes to get the ball in his hands, spread the formation, which is great. That's what you're supposed to do for a guy that thrives in that situation. So I don't know why for Shedeur the offense changed. He kind of wanted to curate something around him. But at the end of the day, Shedeur recognized he had to play better. That game looked a lot like that UCLA game his first year in Colorado. But I blame Stefanski for how he's handled this whole situation because it doesn't look very coached.
The training camp situation was even more chaotic than anyone realized. And what happened to Shedeur during practice proves Stefanski never wanted him to succeed. Shedeur wasn't getting first-team reps. He wasn't even consistently getting second-team reps. They had him on a side field, away from the main action. When he finally got reps in 11-on-11 drills, it was an hour into practice, just a few plays. Boom, boom, done. That's not player development. That's burying someone on the depth chart and hoping they disappear. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel was getting all the first-team reps, even while looking terrible in practice. Cleveland media covered this. Gabriel was struggling in OTAs. He was making bad reads in camp. His completion percentage was low. He couldn't move the offense, but Stefanski kept forcing him into the starting role. Why? Because he drafted Gabriel in the 3rd round and didn't want to admit he was wrong. Accountability? That's not Stefanski's style. Even when it was clear Shedeur was better, Stefanski refused to adjust the depth chart. He wouldn't name Shedeur QB2. He kept Bailey Zappi on the roster as insurance against having to play Shedeur. And here's the smoking gun. Cleveland media asked Stefanski point blank when he would name the backup quarterback. Week after week, he deflected. He gave non-answers because he knew the front office wanted Shedeur as the backup, but he wanted Zappi. That standoff lasted weeks until ownership stepped in. Shedeur is the backup. Figure it out or you're fired. And even then, Stefanski didn't really play him. Shedeur only got meaningful snaps when Gabriel or other QBs were injured. He wasn't being developed. He wasn't being prepared. He was being held back deliberately. Now, this isn't just about Shedeur. It's a pattern with Stefanski that goes back years. Baker Mayfield. Stefanski did the exact same thing. Baker played through a torn labrum and fractured shoulder in his final Cleveland game against the Steelers. Stefanski had him throw 38 times and take 9 sacks. Nick Chubb, one of the best RBs in the league, was healthy and on the sideline, but Stefanski chose to run his injured QB into the ground instead of running the ball. That's not game management. That's trying to break your player. When Baker got traded to Carolina, Stefanski never called, texted, or emailed him. Baker had to reach out. That tells you everything about Stefanski's character. Players only matter if they win him games right now. Once they leave, they don't exist. Baker said it himself. He felt disrespected. And he's not alone. Multiple players have quietly expressed frustration with Stefanski's lack of communication and accountability. Here's what Cleveland media is saying on record. Stefanski can't develop players. He only succeeds when he inherits elite talent. Stephon Diggs and Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. Myles Garrett in Cleveland. He rides stars. He doesn't elevate anyone. Name one player who significantly improved under Stefanski. You can't. It didn't happen. In Minnesota, the offense worked because he had 2 Pro Bowl-level stars in their prime. When they left or declined, the system collapsed. No development, no adaptation. Same story in Cleveland. Talent keeps things okay. Young players or injuries, everything falls apart. Stefanski doesn't develop, he manages. And he only manages well when the pieces are already in place. Now, think about Atlanta. The Falcons just hired a coach who can't develop QBs, refuses accountability, and only succeeds with elite talent. They have Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. He can lean on them for a year or two. But what happens when he needs to develop the next QB, adjust his system, make tough calls? The train will come off the tracks. It's not if, it's when. Falcons fans are about to experience exactly what Browns fans endured. Lack of accountability, poor communication, refusal to develop talent, ego over execution, plays over players. Here's the kicker. Some are defending Stefanski, saying the Browns were wrong to fire him. Those people either didn't watch or are blinded by his Coach of the Year awards, which he won riding elite defensive talent. Myles Garrett was unblockable. The secondary was elite. The offense was mediocre at best. That's not coaching. That's having great players and not screwing it up completely. Even then, Stefanski made terrible calls. 4th down, clock management, refusal to adjust. Cleveland media is finally telling the truth. Stefanski was overruled by ownership because he was about to make catastrophic decisions. Bailey Zappi is the perfect example. If ownership hadn't stepped in, Zappi would have been the backup and probably started games while Gabriel struggled. Shedeur might never have played, all because Stefanski preferred the safe, older option over developing the rookie. That's organizational malpractice. That's how you stay bad in the NFL. Now, here's what's coming in Atlanta. Year 1, it might look okay. Stefanski will lean on Bijan, London, and Pitts. Safe, conservative offense. Maybe 8 to 9 wins. Fans will say, see, it's fine. But year 2 or 3, when he must develop a QB, adapt to injuries, or make tough personnel calls, the same problems will surface. Lack of accountability, refusal to adjust, inability to develop talent. Falcons fans will feel what Browns fans felt, frustrated with a coach who looks competent but can't build sustainability. The Browns made the right call firing him. They dodged a bullet on Shedeur's development. Now Shedeur gets a fresh start with coaches who want him to succeed. Imagine a full offseason of first-team reps, plays built around his strengths, offensive line coaching that actually teaches technique. That's what Stefanski would have blocked in Cleveland. If you want to see Shedeur thrive and prove the sabotage was the only thing holding him back, hit subscribe now. Drop a comment. Will the Falcons succeed under Stefanski or crash and burn? Let's hear your predictions. This is Gridiron Insights. See you.